Hey, so it's been a while. Sorry about that. Lots of things have happened. I got busy, I got depressed, I got anxious, life just kind of went a lot. So I think it's been about 6 months since I've done a video, particularly a tarot video, and I have moved, we've celebrated holidays, but more importantly, I'm in a new place. I still have the cats. They may be running in and out as usual. But, you know, I figured it was time to get back into it. And I wanted to make another, hopefully pretty quick video for folks. I'm part of an online group, not Tumblr. It's Slack that I have joined that's with a bunch of other people. And one of the channels in that Slack is a witchy tarot channel, and so I talk about tarot a lot. And a while back I shared, I call it semi-intuitive, but a spread that I like to do, kind of base it off one that Alie with Alie has done. Alie, we've done a couple videos together. But like I said, it's semi-intuitive, so it's fun. It's kind of what I've been rocking with my spread lately. I'll have like really base positions, but I won't actually really have titled positions. Like I have a general idea what things can mean, but then after that I just sort of just roll with it. And so this spread that I really enjoy doing, it's kind of a get to the point spread, and it's a pyramid, sort of. It's an upside down pyramid. Starts with 3 cards on top, moves down to 2, and then moves down to 1. And I like it a lot because it kind of starts with like the information that we already know, and then I use it to dig a little deeper, bring in some extra patterns to kind of engage with, and then eventually we get down to the point of the whole reading, or the whole point of whatever the question is about, or whatever is going on. And so I've shared that spread on my Slack channel, my Tarot Witchy Slack channel, and I've given some basic ideas on how to work it and stuff in writing, but sometimes it's just easier to show how I do something or ways to do something than it is to write or to tell when we don't have a visual. So I wanted to make a video, do a visual, have fun with it, and to do that I have some tarot cards. In fact, I'm going to use the Thea's Tarot that was designed by Ruth West and came out in the mid-80s. It's a lovely black and white deck. I love it a lot. It's a very lesbian, queer deck, and so I think that would be a good one to work with tonight. Just gonna kind of test run on my own reading, kind of, and show it. So I'm gonna go switch everything around and let's rock and roll. Let's do a semi-intuitive 6-card pyramid, but I have no name for this darn thing. So let's have fun. Okay, so here we go. I've got my camera set up and I've got the deck of cards. I was trying to figure out what question to do, and I decided to just do whatever, something I need to know for this weekend. I've got a lot of stuff going on. It's going to be pretty busy. And, you know, it'll be probably a bit surface, but, you know, it'll be a nice, I think, small topic to do this kind of reading on. What should I expect? What should be the theme of my weekend? Hopefully it will be what we get out of it in the end. So I'm going to shuffle this up a bit more. I like to do a series of shuffles when I shuffle. So here we go. My standard procedure is think about the question I have as I do the reading and as I shuffle, and then essentially lay out the cards when it feels right. So these cards. Right. So when I do the spread, my 6-card semi-intuitive pyramid spread, I usually lay out the top row first. So 3 cards. Make sure they're lined up a little bit. So what I've got here is really interesting. I've got the Sword Amazon, which is this first card, and the Child of Pentacles, and the Sword Mother. And so in the Thea's Tarot, Amazon is the same as Knight, Mother is the same as King, and the Child is, well, it should be obvious, I'm at the page. So what I've got here is thinking about what this weekend is going to be about. To me, I would almost read that there's a lot of people here. I don't know if it's necessarily like the role that I play and all the different things that I do, but there's a lot of thinking involves some sharpness to them. I see the Sword Amazon, the Knight of Swords, and it's like there's a lot of thinking things through, a lot of just kind of moving, not thinking things through, a lot of just moving and taking action about my plan, about the thoughts I have. As all the Amazons, this person is like very free in their body and free in movement, but still kind of crouched, still a little nervous, I would almost say. And then what I see here is the Child of Pentacles. There's this grounding nature of learning how to ground, learning how to balance, which is then on the other side the Sword Mother, or the King of Swords. And it's so interesting to see like how, as we've gone from Amazon to Mother, this kind of growth, this like movement upwards, particularly in how they both hold themselves. Is the sword being held to protect themselves versus is the sword being used for something else? And here in between we have the Child of Pentacles. So I would say it seems like at first there's going to be a lot of trying to ground, I think, some of my like nervous energy. That's what this speaks to me about a lot, and work towards becoming a little better at managing that. I know, for example, I do have a chiropractic appointment tomorrow, which is going to be pretty important for me, and a lot of what my goals lately have been around grounding and making sure that I stay balanced, and this weekend is not going to be as balanced as I would like to be. It's going to be a lot of running around, a lot of worry, and a lot of anxiety, just speeding and making plans and talking to people. But hopefully by the end of the weekend, then the idea is, I've seen some people, I've made some more connections, but also I've, maybe I'll come a little bit more into what I need to, that, or I'm just going to hang out with some really cool people who, make me see where I could be versus where I am now. And if you hear noise in the background, that's my cat jumping on things I shouldn't be. So then what I usually do, the next row down, is I'm like, okay, let's dig a little bit deeper. But I don't want to do 3 cards. That would make a 9 card, but I want to do 2. So here is my next row. I have the Magician, and then I have the Cup Amazon, or the Knight of Cups. And it's really interesting. I like to see how the patterns flow. And so I think we have a couple Amazons, a couple Knights. So a little more like, for me, swords and cups are often very connected. I think swords being in my head and those kind of anxious feelings, whereas cups are about feeling in my heart, more emotional, less anxiety, but also making those connections with other people. And here, so there's that connection there. And so when I see with the Sword Amazon, my cat just jumped on the couch. With the Sword Amazon, a bit of protecting here and a bit of holding back versus the Cup Amazon, which has more of this vibe of offering, connecting with others, making a transition there, which I think is really interesting. And then I have the Magician, the idea of like the power and will and doing what you can with the world around you. I love actually how this Magician has flowers growing out of her hand. It's a very earthy thing. Feels in some ways like a combination of the High Priestess and the Empress. But instead it's a Magician, and showing how the Magician does this instead of, using their own will and their own power. So I would almost see this as like, I'm putting my will out into like, these are my plans, I decide what I get to do. And part of what I know I'm probably going to decide to do is all the things I'm doing are all about connecting. And so in order to make those connections, I'm going to have to pull out of this self-protective hiddenness in a way, because I definitely overthink things. I definitely use my brain to go at and, be too much sometimes, and it makes me hold back. Whereas here, it's offering, but it's through what I've decided to do, and it's through offering myself to others in connection, because you know what? That's part of what makes the world happen. That's part of what makes things go. And it's within my will and within my power to do that. So, and also interestingly, more court cards. There's a lot of court cards in this spread. So that would be another pattern I would see. So how did these 3 cards kind of merge down? What other patterns can we see besides the Amazon? What role might the Magician have with these other cards? How does the Magician help me move from being this kind of anxious Amazon of Swords, a Sword Amazon, to this little more self-possessed Sword Mother? Who do I see that makes me realize that that is something that's possible? Now, the final card is the point. We come down to the overall theme. And here, I've pulled the Emperor, which this is actually my favorite Emperor in any deck that I have. It's very self-possessed. It's very toppy, very dummy, very dominatrixy, or not even dominatrix, just a dom. They take up space, which is very different from some of these other cards. The Cup Amazon doesn't take up space. The space that the Sword Amazon takes up is more of a fearful space. Well, here, down at the end, I have our Emperor, and this Emperor has space and controls it. So coming down, the willpower of the Magician really feeds in the Emperor here, I think, because the Emperor knows what they want. The Emperor creates that space, allows them to take control. So if I were to look at that, it'd be like, okay, so the point is coming down from a little bit of anxious, trying to find some balance, really, hopefully getting to this place of, connecting and having a little more control over my own brain, which has been a struggle, that's for sure. I'm putting in some work to, find some of my own inner power, use that connecting with others, and hopefully as I walk out the weekend, I'll be like, you know what, I did exactly what I wanted to do. And that'll be the theme. I'm taking control over my plans, my work, even, if I do any work this weekend, which I hope I don't, actually. I hope I just hang out with people. Really taking that and just coming down to, all this is a service of me becoming more self-assured, more authoritative about myself, and really more holding my own center of power rather than letting it hold me in some ways. So if I were to read more pattern into this, I would note that we have another major. So Magician turned into the Emperor here with the help of some connection, with the help of some relationships. There's a self-assuredness that I see between the Sword Mother and the Emperor, and definitely between the Child of Pentacles, because the Child of Pentacles is all about growth, and all of these cards are all about growth in some way, growth and connections, which I think is pretty amazing. And that would be a kind of pattern that I would try to pull out when I did this spread. So, my 6-card triangle upside down pyramid spread. So, quick summary. 3 cards, the top is kind of like, I often view this as the top layer of where are we now, what do we see, what do we already know, essentially. This is the story that we have in front of us. Then as I pulled 2 extra cards, these are the cards that are like, okay, let's dig a little deeper, let's get a little bit more out of this. What's the next layer down? A lot of my spreads are about digging, and this one definitely has that component to it. And then finally, we come down to the point. And for me, the point is just, what's this final note? What's this final word? What else do we need to know? And really, what's not necessarily the end goal, but what's the end result? Or the place that we're coming to in service of all of this stuff that we just had to go through and deal with. It's that final note in the story. It's that next step as we move forward. Can be advice, can be just where are we now in a lot of ways. And it's a summary, I find. It's kind of hard to describe because it's different for every reading. Sometimes I will pull like extra cards and I'll lay down advice like that or a final note. Rebirth. I think that's a good one. We got Judgment. And I know for me, I've been taking that into a lot of advisement lately. So I'll often lay down an advice card there. Sometimes I'll even lay down 2, just because, it's important to notice what's happened. I'll lay them on top. But really, what we have are 6 cards. We tell our story that we already have. We dig deeper, and we bring ourselves to a point of like, okay, here's our final word. Where do we go from here? All right. Okay, I hope that made some kind of sense about how I do that kind of spread. It's very intuitive. As you've noticed, I don't have position titles or anything like that. Sometimes what I might do as I'm reading, I might just kind of lay out the top 3 cards as like, the first one would be sort of, where are we now? What's going on? Second card might be, what do we need to know? And then the third card would be like, advice or any variation on that. That's been my base 3-card spread that I've been using almost since I started. Kind of a combination of a lot of standard 3-card spreads. But usually I don't find that that particular version of a story to be helpful. I just kind of lay the cards down and tell the story and add to it as it seems to work. I've been a lot into this idea of narrative and narrative therapy even, which kind of goes back to some of my schooling and my social work background, because bibliotherapy, refiguring out narrative therapy, figuring out what our story is and how do we change that, has been some really neat stuff to me. And in fact, tarot plays a huge role in that, because tarot is all about our narrative and how we can change that or modify it or grow from it, really. Humans, we love to tell our stories. We love to change our stories. So I find that spread is a good way to like get to the heart of a story, or the heart of the story that we're telling ourselves right now, whatever issue or question that we have. And it's simple. It's easy. We don't need to memorize positions. We don't need to think about anything beyond the pattern of the story that we have in front of us. The top 3 cards, the second card that go a little deeper, and then finally that point, that end goal, where we're reaching for, or what is happening, or what is the theme of all this stuff that's going on right now. I just find it's really helpful to think about, and then from there add on advice or do what we need to do. So that's my 6-card spread. I use it a lot. I usually don't decide that I'm going to spend a whole night if I'm reading at the bar or anywhere else doing it. I just use it when it seems like it's necessary. It's a good quick spread. I inevitably, like I said, I don't really know what I'm going to use. It just pops up when it feels like it's necessary. So I hope that's helpful. I hope that's something that you can use. Go on, try this spread, see how it works for you. If you need to use positions, roll with it. If you find the positions don't help you at all, roll with it. And I hope you have fun. Let me know if you end up using the spread, or if you do, how it worked out. If you have any other questions, feel free to ask me in comments, and I will happily answer and respond. So, all right, thanks. Thanks for sticking with me, and I hope you enjoyed learning about one of my little semi-intuitive spreads that I like to do. And thanks, you two, for being patient. It's been a while. Missed you. Bye.